Stay frosty and head over to EasyMut.com for the cheapest MUT coins on the market. And when I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $40. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the Director. Chargers fans. Oh my God, we got a big one today. A big topic of conversation to go over today. You guys been on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, social media, anything talking about the Chargers. It's all been about this man right here. Julio Jones possibly coming to the Los Angeles Chargers. Could it happen? Should it happen? This is a pretty big one, guys. I'll be honest with you. Every time I get tagged a bunch on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh, dude, Director, what do you think about the rumors about Julio Jones coming to the Chargers?" At first, I'm a little bit skeptical. I'm like, "Nah, man, there's no way that happens." I remember this rumor, swirling around a while back, even around the time of the draft. The Falcons were taking calls for Julio Jones, and I just never really thought that he was going to move away from the team. But lo and behold, today it just kind of feels like the Falcons' backs are a bit up against the wall when it comes to their cap situations. Julio Jones trade rumor sparked by Falcons' salary cap constraints. And this is real. This is something that I've looked into. They are in a bind. From what I was reading, they're around $400,000 in cap space right now, and they haven't even signed their rookie draft class for 2021. These guys are in a bind. It seems like there's only a few players that they can move in order to solve this cap situation, and Julio Jones has kind of been one of those guys who's been trying to move for a minute. And honestly, guys, this could be crazy. The reason that we're even talking about this is because the Chargers have now been connected as a potential trade partner with the Falcons to get Julio Jones. I do these videos every once in a while. This player to the Los Angeles Chargers, why it could happen. And most of the time, I don't do those videos unless I have some grounds to kind of stand on when it comes to them coming to our team. And honestly, in this specific situation, I think it actually makes a lot of sense, okay? So we're going to get into all of that. There's a lot to unpack with this situation, guys, a lot of reasons why this could actually be happening, and I think it's going to be a good one today. So before we do get started, as a reminder, I am giving away a couple of jerseys as a gesture of thanks to you guys so much for helping me grow this channel and support this channel. This first jersey Sean Merriman signed is going to one of my members of my crew. Guys, again, thank you so much for everything you guys do in helping keep the lights on around here. I saw a comment the other day saying, he said lights on while holding lights out. That's hilarious. But if you're not a member, don't worry, guys. We're also giving away this Kellen Winslow jersey to one of my subscribers. All you got to do to enter for this one is, number one, be subscribed. Only subscribers can win this jersey. And secondly, hit up the link in the description. Fill that out. Very, very simple. Guys, thank you again so much for helping us reach 30K. I'm smelling 50K coming really soon. And with that, boys, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. It really does. With that, let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. Julio Jones to the Los Angeles Chargers. Could it have? I can't even believe these words are leaving my mouth right now. There's a lot, again, guys, to unpack with this conversation, with this topic. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, the first thing I want to say is that we are legitimately connected, okay? Not officially per our staff for the Chargers organization, but there's a lot of speculation around the league per several different sources and articles that the Chargers are one of the teams that are heavily favored to receive a Julio Jones trade with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I believe that this is mainly due to our cap situation. We'll get to that in just a second. Now, the Chargers haven't officially said anything at this point. The league has, but the Chargers haven't. And I think the Chargers, if you guys have been a fan for a while, will know that they rarely declare a move before doing it, if that makes sense. They hold their cards very close to the vest, and I think it is absolutely 100% possible that they're absolutely considering this at this point because of the kind of impact that Julio Jones could have on a Chargers team that's honestly in a window of opportunity for the next couple of years with Justin Herbert's rookie contract and the way that they've rebuilt this team from the ground up as far as, the offensive line, maybe some parts of defense. So why are the Atlanta Falcons trading them, however? Let's take a look here really quick at the Atlanta Falcons cap situation. Now, I've read from a couple of different sources that that number is actually closer to $400,000 in cap space for the 2021 season. But as of Spot Rack, they say about $1.6 million. Again, from what I've read, they haven't even signed their rookies yet. And the reason that the Chargers are so heavily interested right now is because we are near the top of the list when it comes to cap space, and we are one of those teams that has a window of opportunity to make a deep playoff push. Do you guys remember like a couple of weeks ago, I would say like a month ago, after the NFL free agency period ended, a lot of Chargers fans feeling maybe a little bit anxious that we didn't make more moves. We did certainly fix that offensive line, but there was more holes on this roster. Kind of, in hindsight, maybe that wasn't such a bad idea because big moves like this sometimes happen, before the season starts, after the NFL draft. Having $20 million in your back pocket is certainly not a bad thing. And for something like Julio Jones, a player like Julio Jones, it would certainly be worth pursuing. Now, let's take a look here at the Julio Jones contract situation. Okay, Julio Jones, there's a huge reason why I'm very optimistic that the Chargers would pounce on this, and it's because of value. Now, I want you to pretty much ignore these three boxes here: a pre-June 1st release or trade and a post-release after June 1st. This is really the only route that the Atlanta Falcons can take at this point. Again, backs against the wall. They need to trade him by or in around June 1st. In this situation, they would take on a healthy amount of dead cap. They really would, but they would also be saving $15 million, which would solve a lot of their cap problems immediately in the 2021 season. They kind of have to do it. I think it's between him and Grady Jarrett that they can move, and they've been trying to move Julio for a couple of years now. But what would this mean for the Chargers? This means the Chargers would absorb around $15 million in 2021 to grab a Julio Jones from a cap space perspective. However, the following two seasons would be around $11 million. That is what we call a coupon Tom steal. Julio Jones on any NFL roster for $11 million bucks. Are you kidding me? That's one of the best values you'll find in the NFL per cap space. And again, the Chargers absolutely have enough money and more to make something like that happen. But keep in mind, this trade would not be official until June 1st. It can be declared now, like today, but they can't officially sign any paperwork until after June 1st in order to make sense of this and help their cap situation. Now, for Chargers fans, I know you guys are asking inside your brains, like, Director, okay, I get it. Julio Jones is pretty good. The numbers do kind of make sense. Why do we want him? Why do the Los Angeles Chargers show interest in a Julio Jones? Well, first off, it does kind of solve an issue that the Chargers team does have right now with Mike Williams. Okay, Mike Williams, 1 year left on his contract per his fifth-year option. This would provide a pretty cheap replacement for Mike Williams over the next 3 years. Because remember, guys, Julio Jones would be on this team for 3 years. And to me, that's like the perfect commitment, but we'll get back to that in a second. Mike Williams. If Julio Jones does come to this team, it more than likely means that Mike Williams is probably on his way out. Some people were asking me to really quickly if he would be considered as part of a trade package to the Falcons. I would say no, because the whole reason the Falcons are doing this to begin with is because of their cap situation. I just don't think that makes sense for them. They would have to pay him down the road too. So this would also mean that the Chargers would get at least one season with Julio Jones, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen all on the same team. That is very scary for any NFL team, especially in the AFC West, to think about. And that's pretty important too. But also, guys, I want to remind you about the kind of value the Chargers will be getting for a Julio Jones. You know how much we'd be paying him? Again, around the $11 million for the next 2 seasons. We'd be paying him in the same range as these guys right here: Nelson Aguilar, Curtis Samuel, Corey Davis. I can't think of a more Tom Telesco move than Julio Jones being paid around the same as a 22nd, and 28th ranked wide receiver in the league. And Julio Jones still has a lot to offer. He really does. And from like the immediate reaction I'm seeing from Chargers fans, there's a lot of people that are pretty against this trade. And to those people, I get it, okay? There's this preconceived notion that Julio Jones is maybe a little bit injury prone, but I kind of want to put, that to rest a little bit. Take a look at Julio Jones' history here. Yes, last season, memories are kind of short when it comes to the NFL season. He did miss 7 games in 2020. Yikes, right? But taking a look before that, injury prone, he's missed a couple of games, I guess, between 2014 and 2019. But for the most part, this guy's one of the biggest difference makers of the Atlanta Falcons in recent memory. He's put up a minus 1 year, but very, very close, around 1,400 yards or more for like 9 years straight. Or 6 years straight. That is ridiculous. That's one of the most consistent players in the NFL for a long time. And yes, he is getting a little bit older. And for a lot of different players, I would say, sure, that's probably a big enough concern for me to step away from this opportunity. But in the case of Julio Jones, he kind of breaks that rule. He kind of breaks the rule of age being a hindrance to the career, at least at this point. And that's why I was saying that a 3-year commitment to Julio Jones is rather perfect. It really is. I feel like that's just enough time for him to make a difference with Justin Herbert in this specific window of opportunity without overcommitting too much money or too much time. This makes a lot of sense, guys. It really, really does. And it would really be sad to have to let go of a guy of Mike Williams, but I do think that the injury concerns are around the same with Mike Williams. He's very tough. He'll play through a lot of injuries, but we're talking about a talent difference between Mike Williams and Julio Jones, which honestly is rather large. I also do have to mention that I think recently, maybe why Julio Jones' numbers have been lowered a little bit is because Calvin really has stepped into his role a tad and maybe hindered his performance just a little bit. That injury, in hindsight, definitely last season is a little worrisome, but in the long run, for what the Chargers would get for the next 3 years, especially at per dollar value, I think it's very, very worth it. Now, after that, what would Julio Jones cost? We've talked about the money, but I think what a lot of Chargers fans are interested in hearing too is how much would it cost to acquire him? What kind of draft capital would we have to give up in order to get Julio Jones? Now, I've found a couple of different sources talking about this, and they all kind of say around the same thing, okay? Here on PFF on Twitter, they're saying that, let's say the Kansas City Chiefs go after him, which that would be a big enough incentive for me. Let's block the Kansas City Chiefs and the Raiders, who are also contenders. But they would only have to give up, in this scenario, a second-round pick in 2022, a third round, and a sixth round, and they would get Julio Jones and a sixth round. That's pretty insane, right? Another source here, the Bolt Beat. This is one of the best places to keep up with Chargers news and rumors, guys. I highly recommend. This is one of my daily reads. They posted an article saying that Jones probably gets a bit more as far as trade, but the absolute highest price will likely go as a second-round pick in 2022 and a third-round pick in 2023. A second in 2022 and a fourth in 2023 is more likely. And that is because the Falcons have kind of lined themselves up for not the best value in return. And it's because all these other teams that are offering trades have the cards in their hand. They have leverage on their side. We all know the Atlanta Falcons are in cap hell right now. We all know that Julio Jones may be a little bit older, et cetera, et cetera. If we're going to get Julio Jones, absorb that money, and save you guys in your 2021 season, we're going to do it at a price that we feel is fair. And at this point, from a lot of different places that I'm reading, it seems like at the very most, we're talking around a second and maybe a third over a couple of seasons. That, honestly, for the kind of impact, the window of opportunity that we're seeing right now, grabbing a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver in this point of Justin Herbert's career, in this point of his contract, to me at least, feels pretty good, okay? And that's going to kind of segue into our consensus here. Do I want the Chargers going after Julio Jones in a trade with the Atlanta Falcons very soon? My answer is yes. I say do it, okay? There's a lot of different situations, a lot of things behind Julio Jones that with other players I would say no, but this is Julio Jones that we're talking about. This is a team that the Chargers have assembled to make a playoff push very, very soon. And on top of that, we will still have the resources to continue to build for the further 3 to 4 years. This is one of the best value contracts I've seen in the league in a long time. Once it does go through to whatever team he ends up on, I don't know, man. The Chargers would still have plenty of cap space for the next 3 to 4 years. This solves the Mike Williams issue very early. Jones is a future Hall of Famer. He's still playing at a very high level. He breaks the rules of limitations as far as age. A 3-year commitment is absolutely perfect in my mind. And the triple threat, let's not forget, guys, all the background noise aside, the biggest thing that gets me excited is in this graphic right here. This is my thumbnail. I usually don't post a thumbnail in the video, but I am today because I want you guys to have a visual of why this would be so lethal. The triple threat of Jones, Allen, and Williams in 2021 could absolutely spell a deep playoff run. There would be articles spewing out in every direction of the Chargers' odds to win the Super Bowl likely going up a lot. Teams in the AFC West would be sweating bullets because we're not talking about a wide receiver core that really needed Julio Jones to come in, step in, and be that number one receiver. We're talking about a team that is now so bolstered at wide receiver, they're going to be nearly impossible to stop. I've been an advocate for guys like Devontae Adams coming to the Chargers, maybe even a John Ross back in the day when we really needed a lot of speed. Julio Jones paired up with the wide receivers we have in this roster right now, with Justin Herbert more specifically. This honestly could be one of the most lethal offenses in the entire league. And again, some people aren't going to agree with this. I completely understand why. But to me, the Chargers are in a window of opportunity. And I talk about this all the time. Justin Herbert, we got really, really lucky with Justin Herbert. He's our quarterback of the future and a very, very good one. The best rookie we've ever seen in the NFL in history. We've rebuilt the offensive line. We've solved some issues as far as coaching and defense. This Chargers team is looking really good. But we have a lot of space. We have a lot of freedom to get even stupidly better. And I feel like stupidly better is kind of what's required to go after a Super Bowl ring, okay? Julio Jones is one of those signs that the Chargers are ready and committed to go after a Super Bowl championship now. And for every NFL team I've seen for the past decade, this window of opportunity of hitting on a rookie quarterback, of having the kind of cap space to wiggle around with, this is when they try to make things happen. We've seen it with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it with a lot of different young rookie quarterbacks like Andrew Luck. We've seen this kind of success before. I think it's time to bank on that success again and take a risk, take a chance, bring in a guy like Julio Jones to not just be good, but to be stupidly good and make a playoff push. I'm all about it. Now in the comment section below, guys, this is where I want you guys to voice your opinions, okay? We're fans of the LA Chargers, okay? We don't have to all agree. We don't all share the same brain. So if you disagree with me in this, that's totally fine. To me, it's a no-brainer, and that's my opinion. That's totally cool. If you guys are all about this trade, let me know in the comment section below. Maybe there's things I didn't even mention in this video that could help, persuade Chargers fans to get Julio Jones on this team. If you're against this trade equally, I want to hear your opinion. I want to know your reservations. I want to know why maybe it's too big of a risk for you. And ultimately, guys, I want to know what you guys think this team or how this team could perform with a Julio Jones on the roster. What's the record? What do you think the Chargers do in 2021? Do they make a playoff push? Possibly a Super Bowl push? What do they look like in 2021 with Julio Jones on the roster? Well, guys, that's all we got for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Hit us up with a like and sub on your way out if you did enjoy this content. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Come on, Julio. Come to the Bolts.